Hello, everybody. Like Byron said, my name is Hans Batchelder. I'm a formulation support technologist in the industrial group, sitting here in Naperville, and we are going to present a chlorinated paraffin update for you today. So we'll get started. So a little background on chlorinated paraffins. They are chemicals that contain the chlorine atom reacted to a straight chain hydrocarbon. They are used in our business as an extreme pressure additive to boost performance in needle oils and soluble fluids. They are classified as either short chain, medium chain, or long chain. And the EPA has been looking at chlorinated paraffins for quite a while now, and especially with the mid to long chain, they've had concerns with the bioaccumulative effects as well as toxicity to aquatic organisms. Short chain were previously targeted due to these concerns as well as possible carcinogenic effects in humans. With that, the short chains have already been effectively eliminated as of 2012. And the EPA was also then looking at eliminating the medium and long chains in the US. The most recent deadline was mid 2017. I know that date has been moved numerous times, pushing it out further and further. Luckily for Castrol Industrial, this constant moving of the dates and uncertainty has not affected us, as we have discontinued the use of chlorinated paraffins in all of our fluids as of 2011. We did this to reduce our risk for future actions anticipated by the EPA. We did this by working closely with our suppliers to find suitable replacements and while keeping the high performance of our products. So, what has changed? In April of this year, the EPA reconsidered its stance. Instead of classifying chlorinated paraffins as new chemicals, which would have possibly led to them being banned, they changed their course, and chlorinated paraffin mid and long chain will be now considered existing chemicals. So suppliers of chlorinated paraffins will be able to continue to import and manufacture these mid and long chain chlorinated paraffins. Therefore, the EPA has no plans to ban these mid and long chain chlorinated paraffins. However, existing manufacturers are required to complete a series of environmental and aquatic toxicity studies, which must be completed within the next 5 years, which is a very extensive set of testing and going to be capital intensive for these suppliers. So what has not changed? The EPA is still highly concerned about CPs, and they are under significant regulatory scrutiny in the U.S. Chlorinated paraffins are still on the high priority chemical list, which may require additional requirements to manage, like I mentioned, the additional testing, and still possible banning in the future if any further information comes to light. The environmental risks and concerns remain the same. Just because the EPA kind of changed its mind here didn't make chlorinated paraffins any safer overnight. They still have the same bioaccumulative and toxic effects. So therefore, Castrol has not changed its plans. We do not plan to start using chlorinated paraffins in the U.S. market because of this recent change by the EPA, which supports BP's HSE goals, most obviously no damage to the environment. Competition and customers, we know that our competitors are still using chlorinated paraffins. The EPA's reversal just extends our competition's ability to use them. Customers, we are seeing a lot of customers ask for alternatives due to poor user acceptance, high disposal costs, and their own HSSE initiatives to lower their own risk within this area. Replacement technology. So chlorinated paraffins have been around for a long time. They've kind of made their way into the market. So if a customer has been using it and it's working, then they might not have the, will to want to change. But we have the products that can aid their change with modern tooling and advances in technology. A lot of times the extreme pressure additives in chlorinated paraffins are no longer needed. And since Castrol is a leader in chlorinated paraffin removal, we have documented many case studies where success was met for everybody in removing chlorinated paraffins from an operation. And finally, where technology advances cannot overcome these operational difficulties and an extreme fluid is required, Castrol has CFX technology that has shown excellent performance versus chlorinated paraffin products in difficult operations. And so, in summary, the EPA reversed its course, no longer plans to ban mid and long chain chlorinated paraffins. However, chlorinated paraffins are still highly regulated by the EPA. They're on their watch list. Therefore, we have not changed our course. We will not be using chlorinated paraffins. And we do have now a good history of showing that you can replace chlorinated paraffins in most applications. So if your customer is asking for chlorinated paraffins, it's worth a deeper conversation to understand why, discuss alternative technologies, as well as lowering HSSE risk to provide a win-win situation. That was all I had for today. If you have further questions, we have Dan Goon on the line, who's a global product stewardship expert, as well as Kathy Fruza and Jackie Cervantes from the industrial product and customer side. So thank you.
So thank you, Hans, for doing that, leading us through that. I want to go ahead and open it up to the group for any questions that anybody might have. Now's the time to ask. We have the experts here on the line that can help answer some of our questions. So I want to open up to everybody now.
Byron, this is Randy Berry.
Yes.
How you doing?
Doing good, Randy.
Hey, when Hans was saying suppliers that are continue to use chlorinated paraffins, they have to do a study, a 5-year study. I wasn't quite sure I caught that correctly.
Yeah, so with the EPA was planning to ban chlorinated paraffins as of mid-2017. So that ban is no longer in effect, but the suppliers and manufacturers of chlorinated paraffins are required to go through extensive testing of their products to ensure toxicity levels and such are well documented in order to get requalified. And I don't know if Dan wants to add anything to that.
And I guess one thing I'm wondering is, so if I'm understanding that correct, Hans, is in order for them to continue use of medium and long chain chlorinated paraffins, they need to go ahead and complete like the 5-year study. Is that correct?
Yeah, so they'll be able to use them during those 5 years and continue to produce them during those 5 years, but after those 5 years, they will have to have completed this required studies by the EPA.
Okay, all right. Randy, does that answer your question well, or?
Yeah, it does. That's kind of the way I was hearing it. It seems like it gives them a 5-year window to continue what they're doing, and then just deal with it, possibly later. But.
Yeah, and this is Dan Goon, and that's pretty much accurate. That they have a 5-year reprieve, if you will. They have to provide the data that's been requested by EPA at the end of that 5-year period, At that time, that new information is what EPA has indicated they need to complete their risk assessment. And they will review the information at that time to see whether or not, determine what they will what they will do with chlorinated paraffins in the long term. Okay, I mean, it may not be a ban. It may be under the new. Oh, wait a second.
Yep.
Under the new TSCA reform regulations that were passed, legislation that was passed, EPA has quite a wider latitude in mandating certain control measures or risk mitigation measures, so they could put in place some pretty stiff conditions under which the continued use of chlorinated paraffins would be allowed.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. Any other questions from the group that we can utilize our resources here to answer for you? Okay. Just kind of want to make sure I want to give kind of a final call for any other questions before we kind of move on to anything else. Okay. I will take everybody's silence that they did a really good job presenting on that. Just a quick opener here before we go ahead and close down our session. I want to look for any other feedback that we might have for any upcoming sessions of what you guys would like to hear about.